And in the meantime, China and Russia get closer. China now reportedly threatening to offer lethal assistance to Russia in this battle, which they haven't yet done. And our act with China of trying to seem tough has completely fallen apart. The update in the balloon story, Glenn, we saw there was definitely the one balloon that was China's. They came across the continental United States.
Sure.
All of the United States nothing. Started in Alaska. Yeah. We did nothing. Then we shot down a bunch of God knows what. I don't know what they were. And neither does the Biden administration. And Blinken canceled our meeting after with the Chinese, his meeting after the first big balloon. And now he's just had it. They had the meeting. We made him wait a whole 10 days, Glenn. So take that. Ha-ha. That's what happens when you mess with America.
Yeah.
State Department spokesperson says Blinken, here it is, quote, directly spoke to the unacceptable violation of U.S. sovereignty and international law and said incidents like this, quote, must never occur again.
Oh.
And never again, you naughty little Chinese. Never.
Right,
never.
Right.
So
or we're going to send you a sternly worded letter like Buttigieg did to that train company. I'll tell you that right now.
That's right. So that's how we're handling the Chinese. Meanwhile, the latest reports are these could have been cheap amateur radio balloons. We have no idea. We've been using $400,000 missiles to blast out children's art projects from the sound of it.
$12 balloons. $12 balloons.
That's us. That's
I feel
us.
good.
So now we're finally focused on the children's air projects, and we're focused on talking mean to China. And we got Joe Biden over there in Ukraine saying never, nothing, no, not an inch, even if it gets us into World War III. And we have totally ignored, as you've been pointing out a couple times, what's happening now in East Palestine, Ohio. I mean, totally ignored. The reports are all over the place, but the White House apparently turned down their FEMA request, implying that disaster relief the disaster wasn't big enough first. But at the same time, they said it was too big. New York Post had a good piece on this the other day. You need more than what FEMA can provide. Then after Biden told Ohio Governor Mike DeWine that the feds would give whatever they need, they reversed it again, the White House suggesting, no, it's not a job for us. And no one's gone. Pete Buttigieg says he'll go when the time is right, Glenn. He will go when the time is right. Why don't you go right now and start and take a shower using the well water of an East Palestine resident? Do it now. Drink out of their faucets on camera. He says, people only go when they want to do a photo op or when they're actually needed. What's actually needed is for you to go there and do that stuff. Go there and do that stuff right now. Do what you're asking these people to do and prove to us that you believe it's safe. Joe Biden, Ukraine, fine. East Palestine, you can pound sand. Not going there.
It's so amazing, when George Bush put on the fire helmet after 9/11, some people criticized him. It's a photo opportunity. He's flying over the hurricane damage. They did this with Obama too. It's just a photo op. Yeah, well, it's a photo op. And sometimes that can cause more problems having somebody there. But Pete Buttigieg is not going to, what does he have? Does anybody have one Secret Service guy? He can go there and not cause a big problem. And it's not a photo op in the traditional sense. It's a very important photo op to put your money where your mouth is or your life and your lungs where your mouth is and show up, be there for several days, breathe the air, drink the water. That's a photo op, and that's a good photo op, not a political photo op.
Yeah,
you
do
get
it.
off the
if
plane.
If it's so safe, you do it.
Off the
By
plane
the way, just to update the audience, East Palestine, Ohio, February 3rd, train derailed by Norfolk Suffolk, derailed, and they had a controlled explosion of some of the very toxic chemicals on board. I think it was something like dozens and dozens of train cars that were involved in it, over 60. So they blew up a few of them that had toxic chemicals. And now the Fed's messaging has been, everything's safe. It's good. The dead fish, hundreds of dead fish, people reporting dead animals who are just going out to use the lawn as their, toilet, dying, the family dogs, people coughing and having difficulty breathing. And yet the messaging from the Feds has been, you're fine. And, Christina Pushaw, the press secretary for Ron DeSantis, had a great tweet earlier, Glenn, saying, the media and these officials, they hate you because literally the New York Times has a headline saying gas stoves are bad for you and could cause childhood asthma. Yeah. And mocking some of the concerns being raised out of East Palestine as insane conspiracy theories. It's No, this is one we actually do need to look into. Anyone with two eyes can see there are real dangers to these residents.
So, but Megyn, can we just stop there for just a second? How many conspiracy theories have to be proven true before people are just saying you have absolutely no credibility? Media, no credibility. Washington, no credibility. I mean, this is such a dangerous thing to have a complete collapse of trust. But when they say something, the CDC comes out with a recommendation, and, because some new Ebola virus is, unless we see it, we're not going to believe it. And we're not going to listen to what they say we have to do because they have no credibility. And it's in that on almost every front because they've just so destroyed their credibility. And they won't go and put their money where their mouth is. That's why Pete Buttigieg, it's not a photo opportunity for politics. It's a photo opportunity to restore trust.
Yeah,
if
drink the water.
Trust it. Yes, if you trust it, spend a few days. They're going to have to spend their life there. Spend a few days there in town, eating,
you know what else?
Drinking
water.
Take
your new twins. Take your two twins. Bring your babies and stay for a month. You do it. If it's so safe, let's see you do it. Bring your partner, okay? If I were a mother there, I would be just as outraged as these mothers. And I know you reported on this, that instead of helping them, what's happening? We're sending in these companies that are getting these people to sign waivers before they can get help in testing the air and testing these people have no idea what they're signing. They just want to get the air tested and the ground tested so that their pets don't die, their kids don't die, they don't die. And instead, these sneaky lawyers slip in some sort of a waiver and release for these folks before they can get the testing.
So can I go over that? Because we were I had a resident on the show who just happened to say last week that we had to sign a waiver. And I said, what are you talking about, sign a waiver? And she sent us the photo you're showing now of this waiver that basically indemnifies everybody. If you're a corporation, government, anybody, you're indemnified, okay?
It releases your rights. It releases your rights to sue them.
Correct. So, and that's just we'd like to test the air, we'd like to test the water, but you have to sign this first. And 350 people signed it. Thought it was outrageous. J.D. Vance then picks it up the next day, and he gets the train company to say, oh, yeah, that was a mistake. Well, really, it was a mistake. They said that they had just cut and paste. And if I give them way too much benefit of the doubt, you can say, all right, maybe that's something they hand out for all train accidents. And it was just there and it shouldn't have been passed out there. But I'm giving them way too much credit. Let's just accept that. They are trying to make good for it now, I think, because they were exposed.
Have been exposed.
And they came out and said, we are not holding anyone, any of the recipients that signed this. It's null and void. We have them on record saying it. They're putting
it was null and void before
out.
They got the signatures. That was absurd. That would never have been upheld in a court of law. It was a disgusting, skeptical play to begin with. I'm glad that they've now been shamed out of doing it to anybody else. But I don't think there's a court in the land that would have upheld those releases against these poor people. But the fact is, nobody's on the ground running herd for these guys. Like the citizens of East Palestine have been hung out to dry, Glenn, as FEMA's and we got the EPA there. We don't have the transportation secretary there. Like, who's in charge of protecting them and making sure they're okay? One of our sponsors today is Donors Trust, the principled, tax-friendly way to simplify your charitable giving. Cancel culture doesn't just affect comedians and commentators anymore. It also affects everyday, hardworking Americans. How so? Well, it can derail their charitable giving. This is an outrageous story, but it's a thing. Take Jeannie's story, okay? Jeannie did her charitable giving through one of the big national donor-advised fund providers. That is, until, without a clear reason, it refused to send her charitable dollars to a conservative nonprofit. Jeannie was unhappy. She writes in, I'm a conservative. I believe America's great despite her imperfections and that capitalism brings great good to society rather than government. Earlier this year, I requested another gift from my donor-advised fund, and it was rejected. Jeannie wanted a donor-advised fund that shares her conservative principles, and she found it in Donors Trust, the oldest and largest donor-advised fund committed to limited government. Do you want a principled partner helping you support the causes close to your heart? If so, consider opening a donor-advised fund with Donors Trust. For more info on how Donors Trust can help, go to DonorsTrust, DONORS, trust.org/MK, and you will get a free copy of their donor prospectus. Check it out, DonorsTrust.org/MK. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.